The internet, it feels like this totally open space, right? Like a whole world right there at our fingertips. But what if I told you that for millions of people, that world is actually surrounded by, well, an invisible wall? I mean, just picture this. You're trying to do something simple like order a pizza or just chat with your friends online. But every single click, every page you go to, it's like a brand new, frustrating puzzle you have to solve. Well, for a huge chunk of the population, that obstacle course, it's not some what-if scenario. It's their everyday reality. And that's exactly what we're talking about today, web accessibility. We're going to break down what it is, why it's so unbelievably important, and yeah, how we can start tearing down that wall. All right, so what are these hidden obstacles, really? What does it actually feel like when you run smack into that invisible wall? Okay, so here's a super common one. A website menu that you can only use with a mouse. Now, if you can't use a mouse, maybe because of a mobility issue, or hey, even just a broken arm, and that site wasn't built for keyboard navigation, you're just stuck. Like literally. You can't get to the menu, you can't move on to the next page. Dead end. And get this. This is a real-world example of what a screen reader might say out loud on a badly built site. For someone who's blind, hearing this is just baffling. Animals and hats. What is that? Is it a button I'm supposed to click? Is it just random text? Can I do anything with it? It's basically the digital version of a signpost with no words on it. Totally useless. And this is exactly what web accessibility is all about. It's the whole practice of intentionally getting rid of these barriers. It's about designing and building websites so that literally everyone, and I mean everyone, can use them no matter how they get online. When we say people with disabilities, it's easy to have a narrow picture in your head, but we're talking about a way broader group than you might think. Yeah, it includes visual impairments like blindness for sure, but it also covers auditory issues where you need captions, or mobility challenges where you rely only on a keyboard. And think about this, it even includes temporary things like trying to use your phone one-handed because you're holding a baby. The bottom line is accessibility helps pretty much all of us at some point in our lives. Okay, so now we get what the barriers are. Let's dig into why this matters so much. And not just for users, this is a big deal for businesses too. So the why of it all really boils down to three main things. You've got the human side of it, you've got the business case, and then you've got the legal stuff. So first up, the human impact. And really, this is the heart of the whole thing. Just think about how much of our lives happens online now. Our banking, education, connecting with people, everything. To deny someone access just because a website wasn't built right, that's no different from building a public library with only a flight of stairs at the entrance and no ramp. It's just exclusion. Then you've got the business case. And look, we are not talking about a tiny niche group here. 15% of the entire world's population. That's over 1 billion people who experience some form of disability. If your website isn't accessible, you're basically just turning away a gigantic pool of potential customers. People who want to use your service, want to buy your products, but they simply can't. And finally, let's talk about the legal side of things. Because in a lot of countries, like in the US with the Americans with Disabilities Act or the ADA, web accessibility isn't just a nice to have, it's the law. Companies can and do face major lawsuits and hefty fines for having websites that people can't use. So yeah, it's not just about doing the right thing, it's a straight up requirement. All right, so we've laid out the problem, we've talked about why it matters. Now for the good part, how do we actually fix this? How do developers build a better, more accessible web? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is just writing clear, meaningful code. It can be something as simple as this. Say a developer uses a generic code block, a div, to make something that looks like a button. Visually, it might look fine, but to a screen reader, it's just a meaningless box. But if they use the proper button tag instead, suddenly it has meaning. The browser and the screen reader immediately know, hey, this is a button, you can click this. That right there is the power of what we call semantic HTML. Now, for more complicated stuff, developers have another tool called ARIA. The best way to think about ARIA is like leaving little digital sticky notes on the code, specifically for screen readers and other assistive tech. These notes give extra context. They can say things like, hey, this group of buttons is actually a menu, or this submenu is currently open. It basically fills in all the little gaps that plain old HTML might miss. But here's the thing. Building all these features is really only half the battle. How do you know if any of it actually works in the real world? Well, that's where the most crucial step comes in, testing. So a lot of developers start with automated tools. These are basically programs that scan a website's code and can instantly flag a bunch of common problems. Things like an image that's missing its text description for a screen reader, or, text colors that are way too hard to read against a background. It's a great first pass. But, and this is a huge but, automated tools have a massive blind spot. One expert put it perfectly. They can really only catch about 30% of the actual accessibility issues. And why is that? It's because they can check the code, but they can't check the human experience. An automated tool can tell you, yep, there's a button here, but it has no idea if that button's label makes any sense or if it's in a logical place. And that is why there is absolutely no substitute for manual human testing. I'm talking about developers and testers literally unplugging their mouse and trying to use the entire site with just their keyboard. It means firing up a screen reader and actually listening to how the whole site sounds. This is the only way you're going to find that other 70% of problems and really, truly understand what it's like to use your site. All right, so let's zoom out and bring this all together. What does all of this mean for the internet as a whole? When it comes down to it, building an accessible web isn't just about helping people with disabilities. It ends up helping everybody. Seriously. Accessible sites are just more logical and predictable to use. They tend to rank higher in search results. Hello, better SEO. They're easier to use on your phone or on a slow connection. It just creates a better experience for every single user, period. It's the ultimate win-win. So think about it. That feeling you get when a website just works, It's effortless, it's totally intuitive. That's not an accident. That feeling is so often the direct result of thoughtful, accessible design. It's the sound of that invisible wall being torn down. So the next time you're on a website and everything feels seamless and easy, now you'll know why.